Well, hello, it's been another week. Welcome to Waffle-Free Storytelling. Tina Constant here, and you know all the waffle and all the links are down in the show notes. So without further ado, we're going to jump into the story, which is called The Spoon. 𝗪𝗪𝗪 had spent the whole morning carving her spoon. It was made from a branch that had fallen off an oak tree. The wood was perfect for whittling, but even if it hadn't been, she enjoyed the sun as it dappled through the trees towards noon and lunch, bubbling away on the fire. As distracted as she was, 𝗪𝗪𝗪 didn't notice a fox creep up behind her. One bark, one nip, and 𝗪𝗪𝗪 dropped the spoon, which the fox picked up along with her pot of stew and ran off into the woods. Cursing, 𝗪𝗪𝗪 packed her bags, and on an empty stomach, she journeyed on. The next day she found another spot, higher up this time, so no foxes could get to her. And again she put her stew on to cook. She found a branch from a tall pine and began to make her spoon. Once again the sun filtered through the trees, sending shafts of light to dance between her toes. And she let her toes join in, and she was happy. The spoon almost finished, she tested her stew. But just as she was about to settle down to eat, from above her there was a scream and a squawk and a flap of wings, and before she could do anything, a hawk dropped through the trees, grabbed her stew, stole her spoon, and flew into the air, far, far out of 𝗪𝗪𝗪's reach. 𝗪𝗪𝗪 cursed and yelled, then packed her bags, and still on an empty stomach, she journeyed on. On the third day, 𝗪𝗪𝗪 found a cave. It was damp and cool, dark and hidden away. Here she was sure she would have the peace to whittle her spoon and cook her stew. So again she got to work. This time, with no sun to distract her, she looked to the left. She looked to the right, she looked around her, and she looked above her. But she didn't look beneath her, and it was from there that a serpent struck out, grabbed her spoon, swallowed her stew, and slithered out between the cracks in the rocks. 𝗪𝗪𝗪 was confounded. How does this keep happening? Over and over, why does the world keep stealing her spoons? And so it was that she packed her bags, and she travelled again. This time she didn't stop to cook a stew. She ate what she found on her path, and while she journeyed, she whittled and she carved and she etched. Every branch she found on the road she shaped and she moulded and she put in her bag. For a year she travelled and explored until she came to a meadow, where finally she knew it was time to stop. In the middle of the meadow she lit a fire. On top of the fire she put a pot. Inside of the pot she put a stew. And the stew bubbled and cooked, sending smells and aromas deep into the forest, high to the mountain tops, and far, far across the plains. And 𝗪𝗪𝗪 waited. First there was a bear, sneaking through the grass. He growled and he snatched, but 𝗪𝗪𝗪 put a soft hand on his, reached into her bag, and gave him a spoon. "Join me," she said. Next was a badger, came scurrying through the thickets, but before he could take her stew out of the fire, 𝗪𝗪𝗪 rested a soft hand on his, reached into her bag, and gave him another spoon. "Join me," she said. And so the lion and the sparrow, the ostrich, the leopard, the spider, the crow, and the elephant all came, drawn by the scent of the rich thick stew. They all got a spoon, and they all joined 𝗪𝗪𝗪. As the feast commenced and the stories were swapped, 𝗪𝗪𝗪 left the gathering and climbed a tree to the very, very top. From there she called to the fox, then to the hawk, and then to the snake. "Come," she said, "and bring your spoon. There is enough for everyone." And that's it from the Waffle-Free Storytelling podcast for today. I will see you next time for some other weird random tale from out of the universe. So for the waffle, go to the show notes or drop by www.𝗪𝗪𝗙𝗙𝗙𝗪.com for all the waffle, all the chats, and everything else. In the meantime, well, we don't know what's going to happen next week, so let's just take it day at a time until we get together again. All right, have a good one. Bye-bye.